Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. There are 6 albums to go through. I don't know what you were expecting at this point, so we're going to go through them. We begin with Arch Enemy and their new album Blood Dynasty. This is a band I am quite familiar with. I did a backtracking episode about them for season 5, because that was the all-female fronted one. Yes, it was. And giving this one straight at the gate an A, and I think that might be a bit too high, because... mostly because I've seen a lot of, professional reviewers giving it mostly mixed to slightly positive, well, more on the mixed side. But I don't know, I quite liked it. I like the instrumentation, I quite like the riffs, and the guitar solos are quite good. Drumming's quite nice as well. I like the lyrical theme of the underdog and legacy, even if it can feel a tad unclear. But the band still have a chemistry that you can't really teach, especially Alyssa White Glues. Gluz. I never really figured out how to pronounce that, but she's just casually putting on a fucking belter of a performance, and her screams especially, but her singing is still great too. I think the production is quite solid as well. There's a good mix and good texturing in the sound, but it doesn't overdo anything, which is nice. Even with all the polish it has, it still feels quite organic, which is good. And the construction is mostly pretty good as well, especially in the first half of the album. The second half, it feels sort of alright. But I don't know, I feel like people are maybe being a bit too mean on this one. I think it's the best one since Chaos Legions. That's just my personal take. I mean, yeah, sometimes a band doing the same thing over and over again can get tiresome, but Arch Enemy are good at doing that thing. Their particular brand of melodic death metal is really good, and it's... I don't know why so many people are bagging on this one. Maybe it might feel like a bit too mainstreamy, I don't know. I quite like it, and maybe I'm one of the few people in the world that actually does enjoy it this much. So, yeah, take that for what you will. My opinion does not mean much at the end of the day, but I did quite like this album a lot more than I thought I would, and I think a lot more than most people do. Next, we have another name I'm quite familiar with, which is Zambian Canadian rapper Backwash, which is still not a great name for a rapper, with her new album titled Only Dust Remains. And I am so glad that she didn't release another album immediately after her previous one. This is her first album in 3 years, I believe. Well, I've got it written down. It is the first album in 3 years, which is the longest gap between albums. And yeah, it gets an A+. This might be her most painfully beautiful offering. It's focused, less on political stuff. There is still some of that element, but it's focused a lot more on her identity and her personal stuff and, existential dread and depression and the struggles with the self. And, yeah, no, kind of related to it. Her performance as well is top fucking level stuff. Not just her rapping, but her singing as well, and just the emotion she's able to project. I think this might be the most emotive I've ever heard her be. Then again, I haven't really gone back to listen to any of her prior albums before this, but this might be her best album in quite some time. I don't know if I've ever fully listened to all the stuff, but I've listened to a lot of her stuff. You know, really good shit there, though. I like the production, handled by Will Owen Bennett, and I think Backwash herself helped a little bit, but Will's production itself is a really good mix. I love how much of the sound it brings out, and I like the sort of stripped down vibe of it, which adds to the instrumentation as well, which also fits that. Sort of a kind of trappy approach, but more experimental in terms of hip hop, but in a way that fits the tone of the album quite well. And yeah, I can't really think of many problems there. The pacing is really good as well. It keeps you guessing, and it doesn't really have any whiplash to it, which is really nice. I feel like maybe a couple of the last songs are maybe a tad short, but that's not really a huge complaint, and honestly, there's a reason why people hold Backwash in such high regard, because she's really fucking good at what she does, and I would recommend not listening to this album if you're in, and if you're not in the best mood, but I don't know, there was just something about this one that I quite liked, and it's beautiful in one of the most haunting ways. And I mean that as the highest compliment, especially considering I think this is usually what Backwash tries to do and mostly succeeds with. This might be her best album in terms of just projecting that emotion as well as it does. Next we have The Darkness with Dreams on Toast. You know the darkness, I know the darkness. And I'm giving this album a C. I wasn't super huge on it, and I'll explain the reasons why. First of all, I think their solid glam rock is still quite solid. I think the instrumentation is quite good. I will admit, I think the instrumental work is solid, especially the guitar work and the guitar solos. I wish we got more of them. I feel like it feels, excuse my hair, I feel like it feels slightly less glammy than I'm used to from these guys. But the band's performances are still great, and Justin Hawkins still has buckets of charisma somehow. Where my gripes with this album lie are the pacing, because it feels way too short. It's not a super long album on its own, like 33 minutes and 5 seconds, but I know bands that can get a lot more out of it, but it just feels like it doesn't really do much, and there's not a lot of, like, hitch in the giddy up, so to speak. Um, the production feels okay. Like, it doesn't really feel like they did anything with it. It was handled by Dan Hawkins as one of the band members, but it just feels like it doesn't add anything or take away anything. It mostly just feels like it's barely there. The lyrics I fucking hated, though. Um, like, I get that they're trying to be a bit clever and satirical, but, like, while I do appreciate some good self-deprecation, this isn't that. Like, one of the songs titled Hot on My Tail or Hot on My Trail, whichever fucking one it was, is just a song about having a bad fart while you're about to have sex with your partner. And I've got it written down here. One of the songs is about farting while about to make love in a move that even psychos they wouldn't try, and their sex song was way more gross and actually quite funny. Which it was. Orgasm Equals Love is one of the most hilariously over the top comedy sex songs ever, and I recommend you go listen to it. It's a little bit gross, but it's goddamn hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this has a bit too much of a dad rock vibe to it at times, and eh, it's okay. I will say the funniest song is probably my favourite song of the album, which is Walking Through Fire, which is like a very self-aware song about them. It's sort of like a bit self-examining, and I wish that the rest of the album were as clever as that. But as it is, it's just okay. It's not overtly offensive, and it's got some strong points, but it's also got some bad points and the lyrics, which are a really bad point for me personally. Next we have Deafheaven with their new album Lonely People with Power. Now, I quite like these guys. I've liked them since I first heard Ordinary Corrupt Human Love back in 2018. I liked Infinite Granite fine in 2021, but it was really anyone's favourite. But this is definitely more a return to form to their black metal and black gaze roots, and I'm also giving this one an A+. I quite like the lyrics most of all, I would say. I like everything about the album, but the lyrics are really great as they focus on the theme of human loneliness and connection. Like, you don't get black metal bands, let alone black gaze bands, singing about that kind of stuff. And it's quite nice to have a band that actually feels human in terms of that writing, and it's quite a well-realized theme and some good depth to it. Pacing's great as well. It does mix things up with the melody, and it keeps it going for over an hour, by the way. It's an album that's an hour long and doesn't feel like it wastes any of its time meandering or just pissing around. I appreciate that there's always something happening. The production, handled by longtime collaborator Justin Meldal-Johnson, is great as well. I like the editing on the mix especially, and the fact that it has an at the same time polished and raw feel, that just really worked for me. Band performance is great as well. Can't really think of many complaints. George Clark is a great vocalist. Karen McCoy is a good guitarist. Probably stand out for me as Carrie, but I like everyone here as well. And yeah, I'm trying to think of something I haven't talked about. Production's great, performance is great, riff work, yeah, great black metal stuff. I like that there's great melodies, and there's some nice guitar solos. I wish Deafheaven did more solos, because they're really good at them, and they fit in enough on this album. I'm not going to complain about it and say, oh, this album did more. It didn't. It's quite long, but like what we get out of it is quite great. So yeah, people who think Deafheaven might have fallen off after Infinite Granite, this might be the album that brings Last fans back. I mean, holy shit, it was pretty fucking great. Next up, we have probably one of the most unique albums I've covered, and also it's the first of two debuts. To make up for the lack of debut for last week, I think, we have a band from the UK. This is a band called Forlorn from London. They're sort of a folk metal, but they call their style midsummer metal, like a sort of folk horror thing. I think referring to the movie Midsummer, which I actually need to watch. I'm giving this one a B+. I really like this one because I was actually crept out by it. It's nice to have a metal album that's trying to be scary that actually works at being scary. It's got a really good concept using the elements to, the like pagan elements to tell really creepy stories. Honestly, I feel like if this band leaned into more like a folk horror concept, I would fucking love to hear it. Maybe some thing with elements from Midsummer or the Vivitch, you know, that sort of thing. The instrumentation has that like nervy, unsettling feeling to it, which I think really sells the tone of the album. Pacing might be one of my bigger complaints about the album. I really wanted more songs. There's only 8, and it's not a long album. It's still not the shortest album of last weekend though, but 26 minutes 16 seconds. It doesn't feel like it has enough going, but it does work in quite enough. I do feel like the ending cut itself a little bit short. I do like the production though. Sam Bloor did the producing, and Sam Bloor is really good at heavy production, heavy music production for bands from the UK. I think Sam Bloor might be from England. I'm not fully sure, but you know, he works with really good bands from the UK, like really good up and coming bands. So yeah, he gets that. Performances are great too. I wish I knew any of the band members' names, but I know that the lead singer is female, and she presents with a great voice and has good storytelling too. And this album has a lot of really good storytelling. I just wish it gave itself more time to tell those stories, and yeah, this is a really good first go, and hopefully they turn their next album into a full-on horror concept. I would fucking love to read through the lyrics of it. And finally, we end with another debut, Jive Bomb, which is a great band name, with their first album, Ethereal. This is a hardcore punk, so it's nice to veer away from metal for a change, because there's been a lot of metal in this episode, hasn't there? I'm giving this one a B. I thought it was really good, mostly for the fact that it's just nice to have a band sound like they're having a lot of fun on a debut. You know, I can't even really say that Forlorn sounded like they were having fun, and I feel like their style was more unique and fun and kind of innovative. Like, but this is that like deep down underground grotty hardcore punk, which I'm a huge fan of when it's done quite well. The production actually quite captures that sound nicely. You know, I really like how it keeps things unpolished in a good way. The bands are just enjoying themselves, especially Kat Madera, who's the lead vocalist, who is absolutely killing it. She's got so much charisma and personality, she over-delivers if anything, but the rest of the band are great too. I do like the themes of like societal struggle and violence, and it feels written a bit bluntly, but you know, in a way that matches the sound. I think it's quite good. Instrumentation quite heavy and fast and punchy punk, with again like that down-tuned feel, which I think really fits it. And even though the album is just over 15 minutes long, I do quite enjoy the pacing. It's got a quick pace and a really sharp vibe to it. I did want more meat on the bones, but you know, I'm not going to complain about a good snack of an album, and it is an album, not an EP. I did double check, but you know, still really good on that front. And honestly, again, like much like with Forlorn, I hope this is a band that expands on what they did here and turns into something a lot bigger, and maybe something a little bit more serious. But I like the fun that this band's having, and you know, it's just nice to get that in a band, especially debuting one. I'll say my favourite song from last week goes to Revelator from Lonely People with Power by Deafheaven. I really like how it sticks to the main theme of the album. It's also just got really good lyrics, and also it's got a solid title drop or two, which I quite like. By title drop, I mean album title drop, not song title drop. I like it when there's a song on an album that references the title of the album. That's good. Favourite album cover goes to Blood Dynasty by Arch Enemy. It just looks fucking cool. I do wonder why one of the why one of the heads is a werewolf, but it just looks sick as fuck. You know, sometimes that's all you need for a good album cover. Although Forlorn's Aether also looks great. I kind of like the symbol in the middle, and I like the usage of pink to contrast the grotty black making up the stones. It's just really good. And as for my listening list for tomorrow and the first weekend of April's music, we have Ait Bet with Ait Bet, which is just a great band name. Elegion, I don't know how to pronounce it, with the Ossuary Lens. I don't know how to pronounce Ossuary, or Lens apparently. Black Country New Road with Forever How Long. Florida Man with Plastique. Luna Kills with Deathmatch, and Mama with Welcome to My Blue Sky. So, yeah, as always, that's subject to change. There could be something bumped up, there could be something pushed away in case something more important comes along. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. That'll about do it for me. I'll see you all tomorrow for the Gotham Show for Break Even. I can't believe that's only a week away. It's looking interesting. It's going to be a really good card. I am praying. So, yeah, I'll see you all for that, and probably over the weekend for some Yakuza Like a Dragon streaming. And probably throughout the week as well. Who knows? As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.